The call came before the sun had fully risen, when Lisa should have been allowed to sit quietly with her grief.
Lisa, about the flight. I've given your seat to Michelle. She's simply falling apart. She needs her family. You'll understand when you stop being so selfish.
You are not serious. That's my flight.
It's already done. Goodbye, Lisa.
The call ended, and the silence that followed was louder than anything Donna had said.
She took even this from me.
But self-pity wouldn't get her to the funeral. Lisa set her jaw and opened her laptop. Every flight was either sold out or absurdly expensive, until a regional carrier offered a single seat out of a smaller airport. She booked it without blinking, then shoved a black dress into a bag and walked out into the early morning. Outside her apartment, she flagged a cab with a hand that still shook from Donna's call.
Grandma would have hated this. She always said love wasn't a competition.
The ride to the airport was a blur of streetlights and silence, her mind replaying a voice that wasn't hers.
But I visited her every Tuesday. I held her hand when Michelle never called.
At the terminal, she shoved a crumpled 20 at the driver and ran for the sliding doors.
Gate B12. It's still boarding. I can make it.
The airport was thick with early travelers, but Lisa's gaze locked onto the departure screen like it was a lifeline. The security line stretched deep into the concourse, and the clock ticked down without mercy.
34 minutes until the gate shuts. In an airport this big, that might as well be seconds.
She tightened her grip on the strap of her bag and walked forward, because stopping wasn't an option. The security line was brutal, every second feeling like a small theft from the 20 minutes she had left.
Come on, come on. If I miss this flight, there isn't another.
When she finally cleared the scanners, she didn't bother to tie her shoelaces. She just ran. This concourse stretched forever, her bag slamming against her hip, the gate number blurring past. By the time she reached B12, the jet bridge doors stood closed, the monitor flashing final call with a slash through it. The gate agent was already turning away. Lisa thrust her boarding pass forward, her voice cracking.
Please, I have to be on that plane. My grandmother's funeral is today.
The agent murmured something about procedures, but a figure in a Navy uniform stepped closer, his eyes narrowing on the manifest.
Lisa Morgan?
She turned, not understanding why a pilot would know her name, but too exhausted to question it.
5 years ago, Apex Logistics. You were the one who routed a critical medical charter for a little girl, my daughter. She needed a liver transplant. You stayed on the phone with the hospital until the aircraft was airborne.
That was the winter. The whole logistics office had frozen over. I remember her file photo pinned to the corner of my screen.
The memory surfaced sharp and surreal. A hospital corridor, a younger Brian on the phone, and the desperate gratitude in his voice. Lisa at her old desk, headset on, calmly rerouting a flight path while a child's life hung in the balance.
I never forgot your name. Not for one day.
Then he turned to the gate agent, his voice shifting from personal to a captain's authority.
She's coming with us. Open the jet bridge.
Within seconds, the door reopened. Lisa walked down the jet bridge, her legs unsteady, Brian's calm footsteps behind her. The plane pushed back minutes later. Lisa sat near the front, staring at the seatbelt in her hands, still processing the miracle. As the plane leveled off, Captain Brian stepped out of the cockpit and stopped beside her row.
My daughter turns 8 next week. She's learning piano, thanks to you.
A life I helped save. And here I am, fighting for one funeral.
Why are you traveling alone today, Lisa? What's waiting for you?
My grandmother's funeral. My mother gave my ticket to my stepsister. I almost didn't make it.
I understand loss better than most. That's why I won't let you miss that connection.
He'd once watched his own daughter fight for breath in a sterile room, and the memory never left him.
I'll radio ahead. If we push the descent, we can buy you 18 minutes. Use them.
He spoke quietly into his headset, and the co-pilot began coordinating with the company's ground staff.
I am not invisible. Not today.
The wheels touched down with a jolt, the runway lights flashing past in the dying sun.
18 minutes. If I lose a single one, I lose everything.
Lisa didn't wait for the seatbelt sign. She was in the aisle before the jet bridge docked.
Concourse C, gate 22. And the monitor still said, boarding in green.
She ran until her lungs burned, then stumbled onto the connecting flight with 30 seconds to spare. The second flight was a blur of exhaustion and prayer. She didn't sleep, couldn't sleep. She just counted the minutes until descent at the rental counter. Her hands shook so badly she could barely sign, but the clerk slid the keys across without comment. She didn't bother adjusting the mirrors. She just drove. The funeral program on the passenger seat, a constant accusation.
Grandma, I am coming. I swear I am coming.
The funeral home appeared through the windshield just as the service began inside, the parking lot already full. Lisa stepped through the heavy door of the funeral home, and a voice she knew all too well echoed from the chapel.
All my daughters are here, surrounding me with love during this unimaginable loss.
The words were a knife. Lisa didn't pause. She straightened her dress and walked toward the sound. The chapel doors swung open, and for one suspended second, no one breathed.
I am here, Mom. Now say it again.
Donna's face froze at the podium, her prepared speech crumbling into silence. In the front row, Michelle's hand rose protectively to her throat, touching a strand of pearls that should have never been there.
She's wearing Grandma's pearls. She's wearing them.
But in the back row, an older man in a dark suit, Mr. Ashford, the family lawyer, caught Lisa's eye and gave a single, deliberate nod.
Something was wrong, or something was right, and she wasn't sure which.
The rest of the service limped to its end under a heavy silence, and when the final prayer concluded, Lisa rose before anyone could block her. She walked to the casket alone, laying one hand on the polished wood, and the rest of the room blurred into a distant murmur.
I made it, Grandma. I am here.
The moment shattered when Donna appeared at her elbow, voice lowered to a venomous whisper.
You were not invited. You had no right to walk in here and make this about you.
She was my grandmother, too. I had every right.
Before Donna could retaliate, Michelle glided up, her arm linking through Donna's, the pearls drawing every sliver of light in the room.
Some grief is just too heavy to carry alone, isn't it? Maybe next time you'll stay where you belong.
Say nothing. They want a scene. They don't deserve one.
Lisa didn't answer. She just looked at the pearls, then back at her sister, and let the silence speak for her. The pearls had a history Lisa could trace in her bones. At 17, in Grandma's cottage, she had been told a promise.
These pearls belonged to my own grandmother. One day they'll belong to you, Lisa. You are the one who will understand them.
I held that promise like a secret. Grandma never wore them to church again after cancer took her voice.
Now Michelle wore them as if she'd earned them, and the sight was a slow fracture. Before Lisa could crumble, Mr. Ashford appeared at her side, his voice very quiet.
Miss Morgan, I need a moment. There is something your grandmother left, specifically for the granddaughter who actually visited her.
The granddaughter who visited. That wasn't a category, it was a door.
A letter, written in her own hand, sealed, and entrusted to me with strict instructions.
A letter?
Mr. Ashford didn't look at Donna or Michelle. He looked only at Lisa, and for the first time all day she felt properly seen. The lawyer gestured toward a quiet alcove, away from the lingering mourners.
Your grandmother's instructions were explicit. After the reception, I am to read this letter aloud to the assembled family.
From his briefcase, he withdrew a cream envelope sealed with wax, the handwriting unmistakable.
It is addressed to you, Lisa. She wanted you to hear it with witnesses present.
Witnesses. So no one could twist her words after she was gone.
Lisa stared at the envelope, her name written in the careful cursive she recognized from birthday cards.
Will you stay? I understand if this is more than you bargained for.
I didn't come all this way to leave before the truth did.
The lawyer's smile was small and sad, and it said more than any legal document could. He slipped the envelope back into his case and promised to find her when it was time. The reception room was a gallery of polite grief, and Lisa was its most unwelcome exhibit.
Just stand here, drink the coffee. Don't give them a reason.
Across the room, Donna and Michelle leaned together like co-conspirators, their whispers as pointed as needles.
She shouldn't be here. This is a private family gathering.
Don't worry. Soon everyone will see she's just bitter about being left out.
I can feel every glance, but I've already survived worse than this room.
A few relatives glanced at Lisa and then quickly away, as if grief were contagious, and she carried the worst strain of it. The coffee burned her tongue, but the pain was almost welcome, a small anchor in a sea of silent rejection.
Where is Mr. Ashford? The longer this takes, the louder the whispers get.
Then a hush fell over the room, not of disaster, but of anticipation. Someone was about to speak. Mr. Ashford stepped forward, the envelope unsealed in his hand, and the murmurs died at once.
If everyone could gather, please. Your grandmother entrusted me with a final message.
Lisa took the chair he'd pointed to. Her hands knotted so tightly the nails left crescents in her palms.
To the granddaughter who actually visited me.
She named me in front of them all.
A stunned quiet crashed over the assembly, but the lawyer's voice did not waver.
I leave my cottage, the gardens, and the pearls that belonged to my mother and hers, to Lisa Morgan.
In the silence that followed, the sound of ink drying seemed louder than any protest. Donna's mouth opened and stayed open. Michelle's hand became a white claw at her throat.
She didn't forget me. She never forgot.
This is a lie. Grandma gave these to me years ago.
She abandoned this family. She deserves nothing.
The letter is legally binding. The pearls belong to Lisa Morgan. Return them now.
Michelle's face drained of color. Her hands rose to the clasp, shaking so badly she fumbled twice.
I never wanted to take them like this.
The necklace fell free, and for one silent breath, it rested in Michelle's palm. Then she thrust it toward Lisa. Lisa opened her hand, and the pearls dropped into her palm like a verdict no one could appeal.
They were warm, worn, a piece of her body that hadn't earned them.
Donna said nothing. The room itself seemed to contract, as if the family's shame had become a physical weight. Lisa closed her fingers over the pearls, and for the first time all day, she felt the truth become tangible. Lisa lifted the pearls to her throat and secured the clasp with steady hands.
They belong on me. I am the one who remembers her.
Mr. Ashford opened his briefcase again and withdrew something smaller than the envelope.
The cottage keys. She wanted you to have the keys herself, not through any other hand.
He placed them in Lisa's palm. They were old and heavy, worn smooth by decades. Across the room, Donna stood as if carved from stone, her anger replaced by something colder.
This is goodbye, Mom. But you never really saw me anyway.
Lisa met her mother's empty stare for one final second, then turned toward the door. The family fell away like a discarded script. Only the pearls and the keys were real now. She walked out of the room and did not look back. The evening air was cool and unburdening, and Lisa found a wooden bench near the old oak tree.
Keys. They're real. She held them.
She turned the largest key over in her palm. It fit a door she knew by heart. A memory surfaced. Her 9-year-old self running up a garden path. Grandma Eleanor in the doorway with open arms.
You are home, little love. You are always home here.
She never had to earn that. It was always given.
The warmth of that memory pressed against the cold of the day, and Lisa let it in.
She left me what mattered. Not a building, a place where I was never a question mark.
The pearls rested against her collarbone, their gentle weight anchoring her to the present. She knew she would go home tonight. Not Donna's home, hers. She pulled out her phone and scrolled to the name she'd saved at the gate just hours before.
Captain Brian Cole. If anyone deserved to know, he did.
The line rang twice before his voice came through, warm and immediate.
Lisa, tell me you made it.
I made it. More than I could ever explain. You were right not to let me miss that connection.
She gave him the briefest outline, the letter, the pearls, the keys, the look on her mother's face, and heard his sharp exhale of satisfaction.
That sounds like justice. Lisa, what's your plan now?
I need to get home tonight.
He didn't hesitate. He told her he was flying the same regional route back that evening, and he'd save the jump seat. Lisa rose from the bench, keys in her pocket, pearls at her throat, and walked toward the street to hail a cab as the evening's first stars appeared. At the airport, the gate area was nearly empty, but Captain Brian stood beside the boarding door, waiting.
Lisa Morgan, your jump seat is ready. Welcome aboard.
He gestured toward the jet bridge, and she followed him without hesitation. Inside the cockpit, the instruments glowed amber and green. He pointed to the small seat behind the first officer. She sat and fastened the harness as the engines spooled up, the pearls gleaming faintly against her dark dress. The plane surged forward and lifted into the night, the runway lights dissolving beneath them.
I am going home. And this time, I'm not running from anything.
Funny how the world works. You save a life, and years later, the sky gives you a seat when you need one.
I think she'd have liked knowing you were part of this.
Outside the windshield, the stars burned steady, and inside, two strangers who had become necessary to one another sat in a silence that needed no more words. After a while, Captain Brian spoke again, his voice quieter now, as if talking to himself as much as to her.
When my daughter was sick, there were 100 people who said it couldn't be done. You were the one who said, "Give me the coordinates."
He still remembers. All these years, he carried that.
Lisa touched the pearls, the gesture almost unconscious, the way one reaches for a talisman.
She's alive because you didn't treat it like paperwork. You treated it like a person.
I was just doing my job.
Number. You were doing something most people forget to do. You were paying attention.
The words landed somewhere deep, past the exhaustion and the grief, into a place that had been waiting for proof that kindness wasn't randomness.
Today, I saw cruelty from my blood and mercy from a stranger. That's what this day gave me. Clarity.
She let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding since the phone call at dawn, and finally, the tightness in her chest began to loosen. The wheels touched the runway just as the sky blushed with the first light of a new day. At the gate, Brian walked with her as far as the terminal, then stopped.
If you ever need anything, you know where to find me.
You gave me more than a seat. You gave me back the idea that people matter.
He nodded, as if he understood completely. Then she turned and walked out into the pale morning.
A mailbox. That's exactly what I need.
She pulled the cottage keys from her pocket and an envelope from her bag.
I am sending them to myself. So when they arrive, I'll open the door to what she left me exactly the way she would have wanted.
She sealed the envelope with her own address on the front, then dropped it into the blue box. The keys were now on their way, and so was she. Her apartment door clicked shut behind her, and the familiar silence wrapped around her like an old coat.
I am actually home.
She dropped her travel bag by the door and walked straight to the coffee table, where a small velvet stand waited. With careful fingers, she unfastened the pearls and laid them on the stand, one by one. The morning light caught each pearl, turning them warm and gold, as if they were still alive.
Grandma wore these every Sunday. Now they're home.
She sat back on the couch, letting the cushions take the weight she'd carried since yesterday's dawn. The room grew still, the only sound the low hum of the fridge and the far-off murmur of the waking city. Exhaustion finally loosened its grip, and Lisa closed her eyes. Outside, the world was waking up. Inside, for the first time in a very long day, Lisa was allowed to rest. After a while, Lisa opened her eyes and found the room still quiet, the pearls still glowing on the stand.
She needs to be here too.
She rose, crossed to the small bookcase, and lifted the framed photograph she kept on the middle shelf. The image was from a summer years ago. Grandma Eleanor in her garden, silver hair catching the sun, a smile that held no secrets.
You always looked at me like I was enough, even when they said I wasn't.
She set the frame beside the pearl stand on the coffee table, the two mementos finally side by side. Then she found the small candle she kept for power outages, placed it in front of the photo, and struck a match. The flame caught and steadied, tiny and bright, and the room filled with a soft scent of vanilla.
Thank you for seeing me, for not forgetting. I'll carry you with me.
Outside, the afternoon light slipped toward dusk, but inside the small apartment, something had finally settled. The next morning arrived quiet and full of sun, and Lisa stood by the window with the pearls already fastened at her throat.
I never needed their permission to exist. I just needed proof that someone I loved had seen me.
A small, private smile touched her lips as she watched the birds carve their paths across the clean sky.
The pilot remembered my name after 5 years, because one winter I refused to let a child die, and my grandmother, she remembered the girl who visited. Everything else was noise. Donna, Michelle, the ticket, noise. The truth was simpler. Love doesn't forget.
She turned the thought over in her mind like a river stone, smooth and certain.
Grandma, I'll wear your pearls to the cottage. And one day, I'll pass them on to someone who needs to know she's not invisible.
The morning light grew stronger, filling every corner of the small apartment with a golden warmth that seemed to promise something good. Lisa drew a deep breath and let it out slowly, feeling, for the first time, that she was standing exactly where she was supposed to be. The screen faded slowly into that warm light, leaving only the quiet certainty that some truths are permanent and some names are never forgotten.